Hello and welcome to the Keep Bright On Christmas special, where we will be reviewing all that's happened at Birmingham City in 2024. Hi Brian, how are you doing?
I'm all right. We might have to write off the next 3 hours of our lives if we're going to do everything that's happened at Birmingham City in 2024. But yeah, I'm really well. Looking forward to the big day before next May's big day, obviously. When you get to finally say when Birmingham City are promoted. So yeah, all good, thanks. Are you well?
I'm very good, very good. I'm looking forward to my big Christmas dinner tomorrow. Yes, we might as well get straight into it and lay the table. We are going to be talking about kind of all that's happened this year in various different topics to give people a quick rundown. Brian came up with the topics, not me. Best signing, best player, best goal, best pass assist, worst refereeing decision. Brian's clearly got a gripe with referees. Best away day, a score for Chris Davies out of 10. Well, at least I presume it's Chris Davies because it does say manager, and Blues have had about 5 managers this year. 1 January transfer window prediction, because that is obviously only just around the corner. 1 wish for 2025. I think I know mine already. And which player is going to explode next year? Brian, kick us off, because this is actually quite a difficult one, given that Blues, I think, have signed 20 players this calendar year, if we're counting only first team players.
Just the 20, is it? Okay.
Yeah, so give us your best.
Well, actually, there's a few contenders. It's a difficult one, not just because of the volume, but actually because there are some contenders as well. So I had to sort of give this one a little bit of thought. I would say I've got it down to a 4-man shortlist, and I'm not going to put Jay Stansfield on this shortlist because I'm not. I mean, yes, he was a new signing. I mean, he was the definition of a new signing, wasn't he? But I'm going to interpret this section as like a new player that's arrived at the club during 2024. So my shortlist is Ben Davies, Pek Chung-ho, Christoph Clara, and Alex Cochrane. Ben Davies, who I've really grown to enjoy his performances. I think I'm not going to choose him because it is a loan. Alex Cochrane, I mean, there's just nothing negative to say about Alex Cochrane other than the fact he picked up an injury a few weeks ago. However, I am going to go for Pek Chung-ho, which seems slightly odd, I think, because he wasn't new this summer. He was a January transfer. But, I think in the sea of confusion that Blues seem to be operating on, in the sort of the early months of 2024, January, February, March, all the managers' changes, all that sort of thing. Somebody got something very right when they signed Pek. 41 games over the 2 seasons so far. Cannot imagine a Blues team without him. And for me, he's a different level of quality midfielder than we've seen at Blues for a long, long time. And I know some people don't get Pek, and I know other people are absolutely evangelical about him. I'm not quite evangelical, but I am in the latter camp.
This is why you don't let your co-host see your homework before you come onto the podcast, because I've also gone for Pek. And mainly for the same reasons you, Brian. I think he's been absolutely exceptional for most of this year. I think even back to when Blues signed him in February. I remember having a discussion with Tony Mowbray after the Sheffield Wednesday game, which I think he'd only played a couple of sub appearances then. And it was like, kind of, when are you going to start Pek? When are you going to start Pek? And lo and behold, I think he did start the next game and was pretty much ever present for the remainder of last season. I think he was one of the few to come out of that season with some credit in the bank, because I think he played quite well. With limited quality available around him to support him. And this season under Chris Davies, new style of play, I think he's been absolutely excellent. And from the moment Blues played their first pre-season friendly and Pek was sitting deep in that game against Paderborn, he received a ball from Bailey Peacock-Farrell with 2 Paderborn players on his back and just let it run through him and basically beat both of them in one movement. I knew it was going to be the start for him, and I think he's been really, really good. I know people, like you say, Brian, will look at his goal contributions and see that they're quite low compared to Iwata next to him, who's not renowned for his goal scoring before he joined Blues. But Pek is very much kind of the person who makes Blues tick, and they won't be the same team without him. So I'm definitely going for him as well.
Okay, I've just looked at your answers, and there's quite a lot of crossover here. So,
oh no,
what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you do the next one, which is it's similar, but it's not the same. We've just done the best signing. Who's been the best player in 2024, Alex?
So if it's not Peck, and I don't think it can be, because last season I think there was somebody who was a little bit better than him, wasn't it? In Jay Stansfield, he was by far and away Blues' best player last season. The person who gave them a fighting chance going into those final weeks of the season, when everyone else around him was struggling. I think he scored 6 in the second half of last season in 2024, and he's obviously already scored, over double figures. I think it's 11 at the time of recording, including one for Fulham against Blues. So 18 goals in all competitions across this year is pretty decent going. We're not talking Messi, Ronaldo numbers of years gone by, but they are good numbers for a striker in a team that last season wasn't scoring many goals. So you can't look beyond that awards night where he picked up all 5, can you? So I'm going for Stansfield.
Yeah, I'm quickly trying to think on my feet here and go for someone different, but the answer is Jay Stansfield, isn't it? Who else emerged with credit last season? John Ruddy a little bit, I guess. Jay, Peck, not too many to be fair, did they? And then this season, there are many more contenders this season. Alfie's made a cracking start to his time at Blues. Willem Willemsen is looking really good. Ben Davies has silenced some of the critics. There are a lot more contenders this season, but over a 12-month period, it's absolutely Jay. And I think, aside from the goal scoring numbers which you've outlined there, he's the poster boy, isn't he, for this team, for this Knighthead sort of rebirth. And I think. Now, people are going to say, well, of course he is, because he's going to be paid bucket loads. But I think he's made a real investment, and not a career risk, but he's taken a chance, and he's made a commitment to Birmingham City to step down in League One. And that, I believe, is because of the way he was treated last year and the relationship he feels with the club. And that that means a lot to me as somebody who watches Birmingham City. He's committed himself to Blues, and I don't think Blues have got any other choice but to commit themselves to him. And I'm just full of admiration for the young man. I really am. The way he conducts himself off the field, the little bit of dog he's got in him on the field, the goals, the show of faith. Yeah, it's Jay's 2024 has been Jay's year for me in the Blues world.
Agreed, 100%. The next one, there's probably a lot of contenders from this season mostly. Brian, best goal Blues have scored in 2024?
I mean, obviously, the strong answer is Iwata's side-foot volley against Bolton, isn't it? But I'm not going to go for that. I'm actually going to go for a very recent one. Jay's goal against Barnsley at the weekend. It was an evil day. Barnsley were right up for it. The very, very difficult opposition on their own pitch. Blues weren't playing that well. They'd missing a lot of key players, just gone a goal down, and for Jay Stansfield to put the team on his back and produce that from that quality of finish with so little space and so many people around him. That to me was an absolute stake in the ground moment that we'll look back, hopefully, in 6 months' time when Blues are promoted and say, well, that was one of the days where Blues proved their worth. And for me, it was a absolutely thunderous strike, and it was also a really, really, really important one. So the technicality and also the significance of it, for me, make it the goal of 2024. What about you?
Lovely. I was going to go for Iwata, as you well know. But, I mean, just for the technique was absolutely outstanding. I will go for Iwata because the technique was ridiculous. Left foot volley from that range. I'm taking into account his quite frankly, quite poor goal scoring record before he joined Blues, where I think he'd not scored double figures in his career. And he's a 27-year-old midfielder. So to have 6 at the time of speaking before Christmas is absolutely outstanding, really. One other goal that I did want to throw in there, an honourable mention, would be Brandon Keeler at Charlton earlier in the season. Because that was an absolutely outstanding strike as well. And obviously with it being Blues' first away win of the season, after all the issues that away from home that happened last season, it felt like quite a significant moment. And he obviously recreated that iconic Jude Bellingham celebration as well. So it was a bit special there for him as well. So that one honourable mention, but for me, I can't really look beyond that Iwata goal against Bolton.
Yeah, the Iwata one, it's one of those where you have to sort of watch it again to think, did he actually side foot that? It's the power off the side foot. And just looking back at it going in, as I just did before we came on, Keshi Anderson's in the middle, the ball sort of cleared out from the defender to Iwata in the D. Iwata strikes it, and Keshi Anderson puts his hands in the air, and then he puts his hands on his head. Just does this to think, as that actually just happened. So, when you're impressing your teammates or rendering them sort of incredulous, then you've scored a goodie. So yeah, agreed. Fantastic goal. What about the best pass or assist, would you say, in 2024? So nice to have some to choose from, isn't it?
Yeah, some quality assists as well. And I know which one you're going for, so I'm not gonna steal your thunder. Mine is from the Willem Willemsen assist at Rotherham, which is an absolute belter. I remember you going crazy for that day. Obviously, naturally, given your love for Thor, but the kind of backspin that he put on that pass over the top to Stansfield, and then the finish obviously made it as well because it was an excellent finish. But that pass is probably something that I hadn't been used to seeing from Birmingham City players, that kind of finesse in and around the 18-yard box. We're used to probably players taking shots from that kind of position, but Willemsen has that in him, doesn't he? He has that in his locker, and we've seen that with all the assists he provided this season. So that tops the lot for me. That was an outstanding assist and pass.
Yeah, indeed. It's not his best assist of the season, though. The best assist of the season was to set up Keshi Anderson's second at Lincoln. It was a break down the right. The ball came across, sort of pulled back towards the edge of the area, and Thor is running towards the ball, and he sort of flicks it behind his leg. When I think the whole defence was expecting him to shoot himself, but he just flicked it into the path of Anderson, who hit it home first time. But the other one I want to mention, and I think just to get a bit of variety rather than just to make it a Thorathon, I'm gonna go Tyler Roberts reverse pass into Jay Stansfield versus Coventry. 2-0 up. Going well. This was a day we all thought Blues were okay and they were going to march on and stay up. Roberts came in sort of inside left channel, and he spotted a run across the box from Jay, and just the weight and the vision to play that pass from a player who, quite frankly, we haven't seen too much from in a Birmingham City shirt. I think it's more than an honourable mention. For me, the sheer surprise factor and the fact it felt so significant at the time nudges him ahead of Thor.
Yeah. Oh, ahead. Fair play.
Yeah. No. I'm giving it to Tyler Roberts.
Have you realised that Thor just miscontrolled the ball when he set up Keshi Anderson? He was really going for a shot himself. Next up, Brian, worst refereeing decision. Now, there's probably about 3,000 fans watching this thinking, I can think of plenty bad refereeing decisions. Which one have you gone for?
Yeah, I've actually gone for the one you've gone for.
Oh, fantastic. It's because it was comical. It's because it was absolutely comical.
It's just, what happens when you go into the lower leagues and you get the referees that come with them. Go on, you wrote it down, so you have it, but we both agree on this. Well, go on.
I was going to say, my vantage point is probably a little bit better than yours, because I was watching at home on television that day, wasn't I? So I got a few replays, and it was just, I could not believe it. I remember texting you straight away, just laughing.
I don't think we've said what it is, have we yet?
No, we haven't. Ethan Laird at Sutton, when he didn't get the penalty, when they gave a free kick instead, and he was about 3 yards inside the box, and he was just taken down. I think most Blues fans will probably agree with this one, because it just springs to mind. It leaps off the page. It was just ridiculous. I've no idea. I know they don't have VAR in that kind of FA Cup tie down in the lower leagues, but I mean, it was laughable. how they didn't see it, to be honest, because everyone else saw it.
Yeah, indeed. I think, I don't think the commentators could quite believe it either, could they? Let's go on to the best away day, and I'm having Wycombe for this one.
That's because you spent the day in my company, isn't it?
And you drove me down, and we argued. We argued about the route, didn't we?
We did. Yeah.
And also, we saved someone's life.
We did save someone's life.
3 points away from home, sunny day, goals flying in. Don't have to drive, get driven back, and play a heroic role in some bloke not falling backwards over the press desk. So, Wycombe away, and I think that was the first outing of the we're in for a shock, wasn't it?
Yes.
Where Birmingham City were in for a shock as the goal went flying in. Luke Harris scored a good goal, obviously. Thor was brilliant. Ayumi came on and set up a goal. Arguably one of the passes of this season was Christian Bielik picking out Ethan Laird, who with his chest control before, we'll be generous and call it an assist for the Alfie May goal. Brilliant day, just fantastic, and that seemed like this is going to be different this season game to me. And
in the context of the season, that was quite a significant win as well, wasn't it? Because Wycombe are obviously up there challenging Blues.
Totally, yeah. Imagine where they'd be now if Wycombe had won that game. Yeah,
exactly. I'm going to throw another quite significant win in, the one at Barnsley recently. I mean, it was Blues didn't play that well on the day, went 1-0 down. Within seconds, Jay Stansfield's got them back on level terms. And obviously, as soon as that red card for Adam Phillips happened, you always felt like Blues were going to go on to win the game. And Stansfield again, it felt like a really significant moment for him as well, because obviously he's come with that massive price tag. All League One fans, whenever he doesn't score or play well, are going to be the first to rub it in his face. And he just took that game by the scruff of the neck and had a real breakout game for me. He carried Blues on his shoulders and got them 3 points. So it's the type of win that teams that get promoted or teams that finish champions need throughout a season. So that felt like a really big away day. And also there were 5,000 Blues fans there, which you don't often get. You don't often get that kind of allocation. So it was really, really, really good.
Yeah, indeed. The price tag, it does matter, doesn't it, in terms of the expectations from supporters, because Jay Stansfield could score 25 tap-ins and you'd get opposition supporters going, well, anyone can do those. They expect something a little bit different. And that goal, that first goal was a lot different, wasn't it? It really was a different level of ability and technical class that we've seen in League One. So, yeah, Barnsley away, indeed. I'm fully with you on that. Rate the manager out of 10, and we are going half marks. So, yeah, rate the manager, this current manager. Let's restrict ourselves to that, otherwise we really will be here for 3 hours.
Could rate them all. Yeah, so I think I've given this a lot of thought. I'd probably go, I feel like you might go half under, but I'm going to go 8. So he's done a very good job with what he's been given. He has been given the best tools in League One. I think he understands that and accepts that Blues are, favourites to win the league and that he should be winning the league and getting promoted. But I think he's used the tools so well in the way that Blues play, the possession-based style that he's implemented from pre-season. Because let's face it, he did that at the start of pre-season when he still had a good chunk of the players that were here last season as well. And there were other managers that tried with those players and weren't able to do it. So to do it so successfully, so quickly is really, really impressive. I think he's just so clear and concise in his messages, so clear and concise that quite often when I speak to some of the Blues players after games, I get very similar messages, which is always kind of a good thing, isn't it, when they're all singing from the same hymn sheet. So, yeah. I think he's done a good job. But Blues have obviously got to win the league for me for this to be a really, really successful season for him. But I think they're quite comfortably on course for that, even though there are other teams around them on similar points.
I'm actually going to go. I am going to change your score by a half, but I'm actually going to go a half higher. I'm going to go 8.5 for all of the reasons you outlined there. But I don't think we should forget. This is Chris Davies' first managerial job. He is learning on the job. And yes, he's been given all the riches that he could possibly want in terms of playing squad. but it's not a risk, but he's very carefully. It's the opposite of a risk, isn't it? It's probably the safest first managerial job that you can have. But he's carefully picked which job he wants to sort of to begin his career with, and it would be very easy just to go with a middle of the road championship club. I think starting your journey in League One is quite a gutsy move. And you'd probably be a better place than me to say this, but I think I've seen a development in him. In the last few weeks, I've seen sort of more nuance to his tactics and things like that. I'm thinking of maybe against Barnsley, when there was a good recognition of that Plan A wasn't going to work, and unfortunately or fortunately, depending on where you are with Lucas Djukovic, this was a Duke day.
Yeah,
so there was a pragmatism to some of the tactical decisions that were made around Barnsley, and that really watershed day that we hope it's going to be, and that's really impressed me. I'm seeing development. I'd love him to give a little bit more information about injured players and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know what else we can do. 10 is perfect. Nothing's ever perfect. Does that give him a 9? You could say that maybe, because of the options and the players he's got at his disposal, he doesn't get a 9. But how many wins is it, Alex, out of the league games?
12 from 17.
Right. Okay. At the time of recording.
Time of recording, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what more he can do. He can't control what Wickham are doing. So yeah, I'm been very impressed.
This is great. We started this podcast trying to make it timeless by telling people we're having our Christmas dinner tomorrow, and now we've just admitted we're recording post Barnsley. So you've done a good job there, Brian.
Let the listeners see how the sausage is made. That's right.
Yeah. This is an interesting one. January transfer window prediction.
We've definitely gone different on this.
Yeah. Oh, I think I know what you're going to go for now. Which again could make sense. Okay, mine would be, is that Blues will end up signing 3 players or more.
Okay.
I mean, if you look on the face of it, that sounds absolutely ludicrous because of the numbers they've got at the moment, and
Okay, I'll just stop you there. Mine is that Blues sign no more than 2.
I thought you were going to say no one, which again is equally plausible, to be honest.
Yeah. So go on. Sorry, I shouldn't have interrupted you, but so you're saying was yours 3 or more?
3 or more, yeah. Because
I'm saying no more than 2. So go on.
Because I can see at least one player leaving in Dylan Sanderson who is going to need to be replaced. And Chris Davies has made that clear that he does want to replace those who leave and doesn't want the squad to get any shorter. I think you're probably going to get 2 youngsters who leave in Alfie Chang, who admittedly is not part of the squad at the moment and hasn't been this season, so I don't think he'd need to be replaced. But Brandon Keeler, I think they may have a decision to make on him because at 19, 20, he has played a decent amount of football last season on loan, did quite well. He's not played so much this half of the season. It might be wise to send him out second half and play some games, or he could get the Phil Foden experience where he stays around it and then develops into a player for the team further down the line. There's probably no right or wrong really, but I do feel that given how limited Brandon's involvement has been first half, it might be wise to get him out on loan second half. I do think Blues might need to replace him or get someone in to give themselves an extra body in midfield. There's also the Alphonse Samson question for me, he's barely played football as well. He's another one probably in the Dylan Sanderson camp who needs more minutes second half of the season, and whether he'll get them with Ethan Laird and Taylor Gardner-Hickman now not playing at right back with Christian Bielik at right back is another matter. Technically, as at the time of speaking, Alphonse Samson is Birmingham City's 4th choice right back, and for a player of his pedigree, I think he's probably going to want more. But then that's quite a complex one, isn't it? Because it's an international loan, and they normally, if he's not going to go back to FC20, there'll need to be some kind of agreement for him to go elsewhere before Blues can cancel the loan. So that might be quite quite difficult.
Yeah, that's where I'm siding on that one. It
Yeah.
just feels too difficult to unpick. And unfortunately for Alphonse, who's not done badly when he's come in, to be honest.
No, he's been okay.
Unfortunately for Alphonse, he finds himself in a difficult situation. Listen, there are worse places to be stuck than in a squad in a team that's probably going to win the league or get promotion, isn't there? I don't think that there will be the stampede to the gates that many people think that or fear there will be with fringe players wanting to go elsewhere. I think you're right about Brandon Kaler. I'm not sure that if Brandon goes, that Blues necessarily look for a replacement. You're not saying that, are you?
No, I'm not necessarily saying a replacement. I feel like there might be room for another body in there. It also depends on what happens with Samstead, because then it depends on how he's going to use Taylor Gardner-Hickman, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I just can't see the squad getting smaller at this point, and he does consider Brandon Kaler a first team player. So I wouldn't be surprised if another player came in that kind of area. It wouldn't surprise me.
The Jungle Drums are sort of beating towards quite an active January transfer window. I just on the principle of one out, one in, but in a nice way this time, rather than the old sort of years of austerity that Blues have previously had. I think St. Dion's probably the only one that I would expect for something to happen. And I can't honestly look at the squad and say I expect that person to move on, necessitating someone else coming in. So, yeah, well, one of us will be right and one of us will be wrong.
No, I mean, I think you're probably going to be right. I've taken a bit of a leap, to be honest, just to try and make things interesting. But yeah, I'm just a punt that there could be three. Blues are always do tend to be busy, so maybe they could.
Okay, brings us on to the next one. One wish for 2025.
I mean, there's only really one wish anyone can make, isn't there? And that's the Blues' stay in League One doesn't go into 2026. So yeah, promotion will be mine. Get Blues back in the Championship and close to the end game of being in the Premier League. I think they will, to be honest. I think we voted that at the start of the season in the predictions podcast, and I've not really seen much that's going to make me change my mind on that front. I know there are a couple of teams around them keeping pace with Blues, but I just think the squad over the busy festive period and right up till February 1st now, there's just a game every 3 or 4 days. I think Blues squad is going to cope better than everyone else around them.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, that is the answer, the wish for 2025. I'm just going to sort of throw in another wrinkle, but it's certainly not more important. It's less important. I'd love to see Alfie and Jay both score more than 20 goals this season. Chris Davies has always maintained that they'll both get theirs, sort of thing. And they've both played some 9. They've both played sort of behind the striker, and they're both scoring. They're both getting chances. I think it would just be, if May and Stansfield do get 20 goals each, Blues are going up, aren't they? And there's another short hand of saying that. So, yeah. I think the world feels a happier place when Alfie May's scoring goals and Jay's on his game as well. So, yeah, I'd really like to see that. Which player is going to explode in 2025? I like your answer now, having seen it. And it would be really good to go on. Give us your answer, because I can't honestly see a route to my answer coming to fruition, but go on.
Okay, so I've gone for Emil Hansen. He's obviously only played, again, 15 games this season. 1 goal, 1 assist. Obviously, that goal came at Shrewsbury in the EFL Trophy match. And he's not, let's face it, he's not really kind of lived up to the billing, I suppose. When you see those kind of goal contributions that he had at his previous club, I think it was like 45 in the league across 2 seasons. So we're all obviously licking our lips thinking, this guy's going to fire Blues to the League One title, but it just hasn't proved that way. Obviously, he's not been helped by an injury, so he's missed 7 weeks of football. And other players have stepped up in that time. Keshi Anderson, for example, in that time has been absolutely outstanding and staked his claim for a permanent spot in the team. But I just think that Hansen is eventually going to get English football and crack it. He's going to have a breakout game where he realises how he has to play in this league. and I think he'll be a really important player second half of the season. What I do think Hansen is probably, or has been better at than the other wingers, particularly during his time in the team at the start of the season, was understanding the system, understanding how to play that left wing role, which pretty much guarantees minutes. I think he'll get back in, particularly with Cochrane and Buchanan as your left backs. They're more defensively minded, aren't they? So suits the way that Hansen plays, and I think he's going to eventually take off.
I like Cochrane as an attacking left back. I've got to say, I think his delivery is really good. But I won't argue the toss about that one. I've gone for Mark Leonard, and I don't know that I really see a clear route to Mark Leonard going big in 2025, other than the fact he's a very good footballer.
He is. He's a really good footballer.
A really good footballer. And I'm wondering, do you sense that Chris Davies is just trying to get him into the team a little bit more?
I think so. Yeah, we've seen that in the last few games, haven't we?
Yeah, we have.
Not necessarily as one of the midfielders, but also slightly further forward than the pair of them as well, to just get him around them, because you can play all three. We saw that quite early against Bolton, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean he's developing a nice little line as a good, dependable, reliable, effective finisher, isn't he? Or a closer of games. I'm not, without wishing ill on either of them, for Pekanuata to be playing every third day, is just not going to happen. I think Leonard's going to get his starts, and I think he's going to improve and show more and more. He was obviously very good in a Northampton team. He's going to be really, really good with better players surrounding him. So yeah, hopefully here's to a good 2025 for Mark Leonard, and I think that about wraps it up, doesn't it?
I think it does. Yeah.
Right, so thank you all for listening. Thank you all for staying with us through 2024. We appreciate your company and your comments and your interest. Do hit subscribe, do hit like, do leave a comment. It all helps. And all that remains from me and Alex is to wish you a festive keep right on.